Hello, hello. Happy Friday. Welcome to Functional Fitness. And I have a good workout plan for us today. We're going to do 3 rounds today. We're going to do 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of rest slash transition time. We're going to do, again, 3 rounds. In terms of equipment, if you have a mini band, go ahead and grab that. If you don't have a mini band, no problem. We can do the whole thing without it, but it will add that resistance for us. And you can always have weights like dumbbells, whatever you would like to add, again, more resistance to it. But I'm going to go ahead real quick with the demos and then we'll get right into it. So first thing we're going to do here is we're going to do some push-ups. And we're going to do a little pause in the middle here. So from our hands and toes on the ground here, we're going to come down halfway, pause for a second, and then you can either lower yourself back down and then get up however you need to, or you can do your pause and then coming up. So that's going to be our first movement. And then our second and third movement are going to be the same. But for it, what we're going to do is we'll start off with one leg, and then we'll do the other leg. But again, it's the same movement. So we're going to do a staggered squat into a staggered Romanian deadlift or kickstand Romanian deadlift. So starting with one foot, we're on our other toe, and our toe is kind of in line with our other foot. We're going to do a squat, so just pushing off of that leg and then into our RDL. So from this angle, we're here, just using my right foot, stand it back up, and then pushing our hips back and push the ground away. So like I said, we're going to do all on one foot and then go into the other leg. Again, now we're using just the left leg. And always, as always, you can use resistance. You can even at this point use the mini band around your knees, whatever feels good for you today. And then our last two movements, we are going to be on the ground here. So the mini band, we're going to start off with the mini band around our knees. So if you use your mini band for the other two movements, feel free to leave it on your knees for the last one. But we're going to do some glute bridge marches. And again, with or without the mini band, if you don't have one today, feet hip width apart, coming up, and then one knee at a time, going into our glute bridge marches. And then we're going to finish out with some dead bugs. So for this one, we're going to have the band around our toes. Same thing though, coming out, exhaling back in, and then other leg and back in. So using the band for those last two are going to help us strengthen our hip flexors a little bit more. But that's going to be the whole circuit. So we're going to do that 3 times through, and then we'll get into our guided breathing. But let's go ahead and first start off with our warm-up. So let's go ahead. We're going to be on the ground. I know it's switching it up today. We're going to do some quadruped rocks with our adductor stretch here. So on our hands and knees, one foot straight out to the side like a kickstand, keeping our pinky toe on the ground. We're going to inhale, rock back. Exhale, forward. Inhale, rocking back. Exhaling, forward. And last one, coming back. And forward. And after we finish that last one, we're going to go ahead and bring our knee back up underneath our hip and doing the same thing on the other side. So other leg out to the side. Pinky toe stays on the ground. Inhaling, rocking back. Exhaling, forward. Inhaling back. Exhaling, forward. And last one, coming back. And forward. And once we finish our last one, we can go ahead and bring our knee back up underneath our hip. And then from here, let's go ahead. From our hands and knees, we're going to tuck our toes, push ourselves up into some down dog here. Pedaling our heels so we can open up our calves, pushing our head in between our hands. And we can go ahead and let's go ahead and go to a plank. Whoops. Pushing back up to our pike. Back to plank. We're going to do 2 more coming up. And back down. And last one coming up. And then we can go ahead and back to our plank, making our way to our hands and our knees. And we're gonna go ahead and stay there because we got push-ups to start. So getting ready on the ground, we can either do hands and knees or hands and toes. We're pausing halfway down. Let me get my timer going here. Starting with our push-ups, 45, 15, 3, 2, 1, and go. So starting off, like I said, either hands and knees or hands and toes. If we're on our hands and toes, we can always come to that pause in the middle and then lower ourselves fully down, whatever feels good today. Should stay on my knees. So we're coming down halfway, pause, all the way down, all the way up. So like I said, you can either pause halfway and then slowly lower yourself, get up however you need to. But the pause is going to help us really build our chest and shoulder strength here. Great job. 3, 2, 1. All right. Standing on up. Next thing we're going to do, staggered squat into a staggered Romanian deadlift. So again, if you want to use your mini band, yet again, cannot see my timer. If you want to use your mini band, go ahead and use that. 3, 2, 1. So picking whichever leg we want to start with. Again, if you have your mini band, you can use it around your knees, but we're going all on one leg. So starting off, pushing through our heel, big toe, little toe, and then into that hinge here. So it's a squat, and then pushing our hips back. So making sure that we're just using one leg. So right now, all of my weight is on my right foot. I'm up on my left toe for both the squat and the deadlift. We're going to feel that in our quads, in our glutes, in our hamstrings. Total leg workout there. 3, 2, 1. All right, we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna put the mini band on to see how that feels. Feel free to try it out. If you don't want to, don't have to. 3, 2, 1. Or if you don't have a mini band, you also can do all of this without any equipment. You also can do it with equipment. Whatever you have, whatever's available, whatever feels good for you. I know sometimes Fridays can be a little tough because we're mentally and physically tired from the work week. But we do have a long weekend. So just as a reminder, we have no classes or anything on Monday. No stretch breaks until Thursday. Great job. 3, 2, 1. All right. Next up, we have glute bridge marches. So if you have a mini band goes around our knees. Just getting all sorts of tangled. 3, 2, 1. Keeping our feet hip width, butt to belly button to lock our core in, breathing through our straw. Hips up towards the ceiling. One knee at a time. Drive your heel into the ground and drive your opposite knee up. So we're really feeling that in one of our glutes. Really exhaling, pulling up, so we're using our core. And we are gonna a little bit feel it in our hip flexors since if you do have the band around your knees. If you don't have the band around your knees, you probably will be using your core, feeling it in your core just a little bit more. 3, 2, 1. All right. Next up, we're gonna do our dead bugs. So again, if you have a band, the band is gonna be around our toes. If you don't have a band, just go ahead and do regular dead bugs. 3, 2, 1. So with the band too, we're keeping our legs hip width here. So we're not here together. That's also going to help us activate our leg muscles a little bit more, our glutes, our adductors. You might feel it really like in your hips as well when you're pushing against the band. So don't let the resistance pull your legs together. Same goes for next round in the glute bridge marches if we are going that route with the band for that. Exhaling, pulling our leg back in. We're controlling the band. The band is not controlling us. Oh, sorry, that's time. I wasn't looking. That was 45 seconds. We're taking our quick rest. That is round 1. So we're going to go through that 2 more times. We have push-ups coming up next. 3, 2, 1. So pausing halfway. Hands are directly beneath our shoulders. Screwing our hands into the ground so our back is nice and flat. Also engaging our core so everything's nice and flat. And then either again, hands and knees or hands and toes. I find that for this one, I do personally like going for my knees because then that way I can really focus on the pause and using my chest versus if I'm on my toes, it's gonna be a little bit less chest engagement. For me personally, you might not feel that way. So all of us are all different. We all feel things differently. So doing what feels best for you. 3, 2, 1. All right. Standing on up. We have staggered squat to staggered Romanian deadlift. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so starting with whichever foot you would like to. And you can either do bands or no bands, whatever feels good. But our form is always the same. Knee over our second toe. Our chest is staying in the center. We're not necessarily leaning all the way over to the other foot. So even with the Romanian deadlifts, I am even coming down. So especially if we're using dumbbells, really important to keep it as if we were doing a regular 2-leg, because if we start to lean over to the side, we're going to start to feel that in our low back. It's not going to feel so good. So keeping our weight central. 3, 2, 1. All right. Taking our quick rest. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So switching our legs up. 3, 2, 1. So same thing in the squats as well, keeping our chest central, driving through the heel, big toe, little toe, pushing our hips back, push the ground away. So we're just using one foot. Our other foot is there for stability and for help, but we're not pushing off of the other foot. And then again, keeping our weight in the middle for the RDLs here. Core is engaged for everything. Driving through our heel, big toe, little toe for both movements. 3, 2, 1. All right. Let's go ahead and get on the ground. We got glute bridge marches, and we're going to do dead bugs. Then we have one more round, and then we're going to breathe. 3, 2, 1. So tucking our pelvis, driving our hips up towards the ceiling. Exhale, drive one knee up. Then the other knee. So keeping our core engaged, so acting like we're zipping everything up. Breathing through our straw, bringing everything together, and then as we breathe through our straw, pull with our core. Great job. 3, 2, 1. All right. We got dead bugs. So if we have the mini band, moving it down to our toes. 3, 2, 1. So keeping our knees above our hips at our starting position. But as we come out, your knee is probably likely going to come towards your upper body. And that's okay, because that's, again, the resistance is going to help us work on our hip flexors, because from here to here is starting to get into our hip flexion. So the closer your knees get to your chest, the more flexed your hips are. So it's going to help us strengthen our hip flexors, by having resistance into our hip flexion while we're also working on our core. 3, 2, 1. All right. 2 down, 1 to go. Starting with push-ups, and then we're going to stand up after that. 3, 2, 1. So pausing at the middle. We don't need to do any tempos unless you are not pushing yourself up. Then after your pause, go ahead and go nice and slow to the ground. Whatever feels good for you today. But that pause is going to help us get that our isometric work helps engage more muscles through the chest. So that's what we're aiming for here in this movement. 3, 2, 1. All right. Great job. Done with those for today. Thank goodness. I don't think push-ups will ever be easy. We got staggered squat to staggered Romanian deadlift. 3, 2, 1. So you can again do band or no band, or if you have anything weighted laying around or dumbbells or whatever you'd like to use, feel free to grab that. If you are using any weight for your squats, I want the weight under your chin or at your shoulders and then in front of you for the RDL. Really push our hips back, push the ground away. You can also add tempo if you don't have resistance. So if we move a little bit slower through the movement, we are going to get a little bit more engagement out of that. 3, 2, 1. All right. Getting ready. We're going to do the same thing on the other leg, and then we'll be on the ground. We're going to stay on the ground for our cool down and our breathing. 3, 2, 1. All right. Got our other leg going here. Keeping our butt to our belly button. Our core is engaged. Our back is nice and flat. Does help if we exhale as we push the ground away, whether it's for our squats and our deadlifts. We want to exhale as we're exerting ourselves. Again, slowing the tempo down. We really want to get that engagement. 3, 2, 1. All right. I almost took my band off. We got glute bridge marches and then dead bugs. And then we're going to stay on the ground. Feet hip width apart, finding our Goldilocks position here. 3, 2, 1. Locking it in. Driving those hips up. One heel into the ground. Other knee comes up. Great job. My favorite for glute and core strength. And the band just adds a little bit extra resistance and tension. You might feel something a little bit more in your hip flexors. I know for me personally, I feel the dead bugs more in my hip flexors than these. 3, 2, 1. All right. Last movement here. We have our banded dead bugs. We are getting ready. Last movement here. 3, 2, 1. Out. Back in. Job. Moving nice and slow. Great job. We are going to do just a little bit of figure 4 to cool down. And then our guided breathing will be, we're going to do that in child's pose again. I've really been enjoying doing that with y'all. to really help us mentally and physically reset. 3, 2, 1. And that is it for today's circuit. So you can always grab a sip of water if you need it. But like I said, we're going to do some figure 4. So taking one ankle, we're going to cross it over our opposite knee. If that tension feels good, go ahead and stay there. If we need a little extra tension, we can go ahead and interlace our fingers either behind our knee or in front of our shin. Pull our knee towards our chest. We're just going to do 3 breaths here. So in through our nose, into our belly. Exhale, find where tension. And on our next exhale, we can go ahead and gently release out of that. And then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So opposite ankle. If that tension feels good, go ahead and stay there. If you need a little extra tension, we're going to go ahead and interlace our fingers either behind our knee or in front of our shin and pull our knee towards our chest. Find away our tension. And one more breath here. And as we finish our exhale, we can gently release our feet back to the ground. And from here, we'll go ahead and roll over, making our way onto our hands and our knees. And we're going to get into some child's pose here. So let's go ahead. We're going to rock our heads back towards our heels, walk our hands out, forehead, chin, or cheek to the ground. So as we're here, we're going to do a 6-4-10 or 6-4-8, whatever you'd like. You can choose whichever one. And as we inhale, I want us breathing again into our bellies, feeling our hips and our low back expand. And then as we exhale, really letting our hips and our armpits sink further into the ground. It's really going to help us relax and reset our body and our mind, tapping into our rest and digest. Great way to end the work week and also before we go and have some lunch. So we're going to do a few breaths here. So we're going to inhale for 6 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for, we'll do 8 today. So I'll count us out for 1 round and then I'll be quiet. So we're going to inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's go ahead, keep that tempo going. I'm going to be quiet. All right, we're going to go ahead and do one more round of our breath tempo here. And as we finish our last exhale, taking our time when we're ready, making our way back to our hands and our knees. And you can always stay on the ground or return to a seated, kneeling, or standing position, but that is going to be all the time I have for us today. So, great job. We did a lot of different things today, single leg stuff. Again, I know we did a lot of that this week in class, but thank you for joining me. I hope you have a great long weekend, and I'll see you again next week.